Welcome back Pokefans to the Pokemon Astra Adventures 2 Nuzlocke playthrough. If you haven't already, then go and watch previous episodes of the playthrough so you can catch up and see all the deaths we've had so far. So starting off, we've got a battle with our rival Andy. He shouldn't prove too difficult, and he leads off with a Mankey, and we can go ahead and switch into Gary. We've also got a few levels on this, so shouldn't be that bad. Although I wasn't expecting it to have acrobatics. We hit it with a water pulse which takes down to half, and then the second one can take it out. Up next he sends out his own Gyarados, but because of the Intimidate we need to switch out, so we go into Jeffrey, take a bite comfortably enough, get up a Leech Seed for the recovery, and then with the Leech Seed recovery we go back above half. Grass Pledge didn't do as much as I was expected, so we go ahead and switch back out to our own Gyarados. Obviously Intimidate's going to reduce his attack as well. And then we go for a bite and we actually get the flinch and Leech Seed finishes it off. Next comes Charmeleon and Water Pulse does quite a bit of damage. Dragon Breath does get the paralysis though, and he manages to get a second one off before another Water Pulse takes it down. Up next is Munchlax, which, as we've known from previous, can be a little bit of a problem because of its bulk. So we go out to Archie for the Intimidate, and Firefang thankfully gets a burn. We then go ahead and switch into Jeffrey, and then we're going to set up Leech Seed for recovery damage as well. He does get the paralysis off the Body Slam this time as well, and we are in crit range, which he does get, but it only takes us down to 10 thankfully. We can now switch back out to Archie, and with the burn and Leech Seed, he's not going to last much longer. With the recovery from Leech Seed as well, we're pretty much full HP when we take it out with a Firefang. Up next comes Vileplume, and Firefang takes it down to just into the red, and then he puts us to sleep, so I switch out into Drew and finish it off with a Vileplume. So, comfortable battle really, especially when you got two Intimidators. And yeah, he just tells us about the gym leader's not around and potentially it's going to be on SSN. He says he can't go on there because he's got seasickness and he can't continue to Lavender Town because Route 11 apparently no longer exists. So after he runs off, we are going to go back and heal our team. After we've healed our team, we head into the Pokemon fan club, and it turns out that they're all Eevee lovers, and all the NPCs in here will tell you about one of the evolutions and how to get it and what it's good for. If you go ahead and talk to the chairman, he will actually give you his own Eevee. We go ahead and call this Eevee Tony for some reason. I can't really remember why I called it that, but now I'm looking back, it's a very strange name. But for now it's probably going to sit in the box until I decide what evolution I want to turn it into. After that we find an NPC who tells us about a guy looking under a truck. Anyone who's played the original games will remember the whole myth about Mew being found under that truck that you can't access unless you cheat. We then speak to this NPC who goes ahead and gives us a Galarian Farfetch'd, which is exactly what I wanted to be using. As it's a female, we go ahead and call it Maylene after the gym leader that's a fighting type from Sinnoh, but we can eventually turn this into a Surfetch'd. She does say that the evolution is different, but we have to kind of figure it out for ourselves. I'm assuming it's going to be to do with critical hits, and then all we've got left to do is the SSN. We also speak to an NPC here who tells us about Lapras ferrying people across water, so maybe that's how you go across water when you need to like Cinnabar Island. Seeing as I don't think there's HMs in this game. We can go out onto Route 11, but we're going to leave that for now because there's quite a few trainers. We head into this tunnel, which is obviously normally Diglett's cave, and we just wanted to kind of see, does this lead to somewhere different to the other one that we went to previous? And once we get to the stairs, we realise that it just takes you back to that one that we was in previous, so a bit of a waste. All that's left to do now is just head on to SSN, so we flash our ticket and we're on board. There's a little bit of similarities between the original SSN, but it has changed a little bit, so I've cut it down to what is kind of relevant and not just filler. We go ahead and talk to this guy who's been on travels apparently, and he goes ahead and gives us an Elekid or Magby. This was a tough decision because I like Electivire and I like Magmortar, but I don't think we've got an electric Pokemon, and we've already got 2 fire Pokemon in Arcanine and potentially a Charizard. So we get the Elekid and we call it Buzz, which kind of fits it, I suppose, electric. And then he also goes ahead and gives you the evolution item to turn it into an Electivire when it is an Electabuzz. We then head into our first battle, which is going to be a double battle. Obviously the level cap for Lieutenant Surge is level 33 as well, so we haven't got much room to play around with. So they send out an Alolan Vulpix and a Galarian Slowpoke. We go for a Fire Fang on the Vulpix, but it's holding a berry. Still takes it out though because it's a weak Pokemon. Grass Pledge does just over half the Slowpoke, and thankfully the Water Pulse is on Jeffrey and not Archer. An Extreme Speed on Slowpoke takes it out, and then Ponyta is going to get hit with a Sludge Wave. Synthesis, I thought there's no point really. I'd prefer the Leech Seed because it actually does damage, and I forgot that somehow Poison's not super effective and Ponyta just lives. Next out comes Galarian Meowth, and Fire Fang is going to take that out in one hit. Maybe if it was a Persoke it would have lived. And then a final Grass Pledge will take out the Ponyta. Then we bump into this guy. I actually thought he was an NPC, I didn't realise he was going to be a trainer, but he's a fisherman and he's got 2 Pokemon, Poliwhirl and Shelder. Archie, it's a little bit playing with fire to stay in, so we go ahead and switch out. We bring in Gary for the Intimidate on the Poliwhirl. Shelder goes for Protect. Poliwhirl hits Jeffrey with a Mud Shot, and obviously the Grass Pledge doesn't connect. We can then go for a Bite on Poliwhirl, which does around half. Jeffrey tanks the Water Pulse, and then a single Grass Pledge takes out the Shoulder. And then we just double in on Poliwhirl and a Bite takes it down. So nothing too challenging at the moment. Drew's also wanting to learn Dragon Dance, and I decided that we'll get rid of Fire Pledge. Maybe go for a physical Charizard. We then found an area which looks like the engine room. We head into a battle. Again, I thought he was an NPC, and he's got a Staryu and a Machop. I don't know why everyone seems to have first evolution Pokemon, seeing as we're what, 4 badges in now I think. Extreme Speed nearly takes out the Staryu, but Grass Pledge finishes it off. Seismic Toss I think does same damage as Dragon Rage, so it will do 25. Fire Fang on the Machop, and then a Grass Pledge takes it out, and that's another trainer down. After the battle, Jeffrey finally evolved into a Venusaur, which is going to be useful against Lieutenant Surge because he'll be resisting the electric type attacks, and he's also final evolution, so he's got a lot of bulk. He also wants to learn Petal Dance, which is 120 base power attack. Yes, it's a little bit like Outrage, but for that much power you've got to learn it. There isn't actually anything in here, just these overworld Pokemon. I never actually clicked on any of them though to see if you can get an encounter, but it seems like a bit of a waste of an area to not have sort of anything in. So we head on to another trainer battle with this hiker who has an Alolan Geodude and a Alolan Diglett. Notice a lot of the trainers on here have got the different forms like Alolan, Galarian and such. A Flame Burst on Geodude doesn't do as much as I was expecting, but now I think about it, it is resisted because it's rock electric. I think at the time I must have thought it was steel. Well, extreme speed finishes it off, and that's another battle down. We then continue on into the next area, which I think is the final one. We talk to this guy and he tells us about that there's no cut trees anymore, which I think people have noticed by now. There's also a mart on here, which I thought was a little bit strange. We speak to this NPC who gives us a bit of a sob story about he rescued some Pokemon because he couldn't bear to leave it alone, so we ended up taking it off him, and it turns out it's a seal. A bit of a strange Pokemon to be given, nothing special about seals. We go ahead and call it Daryl as it's a male, and this will likely be staying in the box unless we get some deaths. Although I don't think I've ever used a Dugong in battle. So the Mart sell TRs, some pretty good moves here. We also noticed a new move called Sparkle Punch, which I'm assuming is the fairy version of the punches, and then just your normal Mart. So after that we continue exploring the last little bits. In this one room we've got I'm assuming dad and daughter with a Wigglytuff, and then in the last room we have another trainer battle. So this sailor has a tentacle and a horsey, which again is not good for Archie, but not so bad for Jeffrey. We switch out Archie and we bring in Merlin, seeing as Merlin's going to be super effective against Tentacle. A single Grass Pledge takes out Horsey because it is so frail, and Tentacle goes for a wrap. Now we can hit a Grass Pledge and then a Side Shock on Tentacle. A single Side Shock though is all it takes. I actually don't know how it's going to evolve into Alakazam in this. I don't know if it's an item or if it just level up. So up next we've got our last trainer battle on the SSN, and he's got a Alolan Rattata and Sandshrew. Obviously Sandshrew is now Ice and Steel, I think, so Fire Fang's 4 times effective, and then Rattata's frail, so a single Grass Pledge takes it out. After that we head into the captain's room where we find Lieutenant Surge. He then runs off back to the gym where we can challenge him, and then when you talk to the captain he says about his sword mastery and that he no longer does it, and then challenges us to a battle. Thankfully I'd already looked at his team and noticed that he'd got 2 Pokemon that abuse critical hits, so we put Farfetch to sleep, and then a Poison Fangs and 2 Air Cutters takes it out, because if that sets up a Swords Dance it's sweeping. Same with Scyther, but this doesn't have an ability that stops Intimidate from working, so we switch out into Archie and it goes for Fury Cutter anyway. A Fire Fang takes it down to half. Night Slash takes us down past half, and then it just lives, and then Extreme Speed can finish it off. That could have been a Nuzlocke ender if I hadn't have already looked at it. After the battle he says he doesn't need to teach us much, and we talk to him about his journeys. He says he's travelled all around, and that on a recent venture to Cinnabar he saw a Pokemon by Seafoam Islands, and from his description it sounds like it's Articuno. Once we come off the SSN, we're approached by Looker, who mentions going to see Mr. Fuji. Obviously he can't go himself because apparently he's got something else to do, so he just gives us the task of doing it. So we go ahead and take on the trainers in the gym. There's 3 battles altogether, so we'll just run through these straight away. First up is a Pikachu, so we go out into Dorothy. Bulldoze one hit KOs it. Dorothy's going to be useful because he's our only ground type Pokemon who is immune to electric attacks. Next up's a Scientist who's got a Voltorb, so we switch Zach into Dorothy, who obviously isn't affected by Thunderbolt. Bulldoze is weakened to just under half after the berry, and Swift doesn't do too much. He then goes and switches into Magnemite, which has got a balloon. So we go for a Sucker Punch just to break the balloon. We take a Flash Cannon, just about living on 6 HP, and then Bulldoze can finish it off. Then he brings back out his Voltorb, and a Bulldoze also takes that out. Dorothy learns Dig, which is quite a big power difference to Magnitude, so we go ahead and learn it. And then Elekid comes out, and we go for a Dig, and for some reason I thought this was going to KO. Obviously it doesn't, and we lose Dorothy, probably our most useful Pokemon for this gym, just before the gym leader. We send out Drew, and he gets the revenge kill with Dragon Breath. And now we're going to have to come up with a different plan for Lieutenant Surge. So the last battle's Gentleman Lewis, and he's got a Jolteon. We lead off with Susan. We tank a Hyper Beam. Hyper Fang takes it just above half, and then thankfully we get a crit and we can finish it off. So the puzzle is different in here. You just have to get 3 switches, they don't reset, and if you talk to the NPCs they give you a little bit of clues. Obviously this in the original games was a nightmare, because if you click the wrong one the whole thing reset and you have to do it again. Once we've finished it we can actually go through to Lieutenant Surge, but we're still gonna go to the route to the right of Vermilion City and level up our Pokemon as close to the cap as possible, and maybe look for a new encounter since we lost Dugtrio. So we've seen a Drowsy and a Mr. Mime so far, and then we see a Sandshrew, which is perfect because it's ground type. We do accidentally walk into this battle though first. So Birdkeeper Arnie has a Pidgeotto and a Fearow. We lead off with Susan and Bill. We double into the Pidgeotto. I think Jet Strike must be a priority psychic move. Not psychic, sorry, flying. And then our 2 attacks take out Pidgeotto. Hyper Fang 1-hit KOs due to a crit, and that's an easy battle. Bill also goes ahead and learns a second damaging move, so we can get rid of Sharpen and learn Signal Beam. We then go ahead and encounter our Sandshrew. Level 20, so quite a big difference, but thankfully we've got some weaker Pokemon with us that we've recently got. So we switch out into Mylene, and we can use Maylene to weaken it down, ready to catch it. Although that Magnitude did quite a bit of damage. Now I look back, we could have actually potentially lost this if that Magnitude wasn't a 4 and was somewhat higher. Then once we got it weak enough, we go out into Zac and we throw a Great Ball, which is enough, and we've got a new ground Pokemon. We go ahead and give it the nickname Andy the Sandslash, and for now he's going to go into the PC. He does drop a Citrus Berry, which is a good held item for Nuzlocke because of how much HP it can heal up. We then take on the rest of the trainers just for their XP. So the first guy's got a Geodude. We can switch out. In fact, no, we don't. We just stay in because looking at my team, we don't have anything. And he goes to self-destruct with a normal gem, and I had a mini heart attack. But thankfully, it leaves us on 25. We can't switch out because of Arena Trap, and then I'm having another heart attack. But thankfully, Diglett's a frail, and Sucker Punch can just take it out in one hit. After the battle, our Alolan Geodude evolves into Alolan Graveler. This is another Pokemon that is going to be useful for the gym battle, because after looking at his team, there's a Pokemon with self-destruct, and obviously Graveler is still part rock, so it will be not very effective. The next battle, he leads off with a Magnemite. We lead off with Graveler, and we go for a Mudsling, which after the berry does half, and then without the berry it finishes it off, doing about 3/4 of damage, I think. Next up comes Voltorb, and we switch out because I don't want to lose Graveler. Goes for a Charge Beam, but thankfully doesn't get the boost, but we miss our Hyper Fang. Second one connects and leaves him in the red, and now we just need to hit, so I'll go for an Aerial Ace. Next trainer is a Psychic Kelsey, and it's a double battle, Mr. Mime and Drowsy. This is where Bill learning Signal Beam will be of use. So Susan crunches the Drowsy, taking it out in one hit, which I didn't actually expect because I thought Drowsy was quite bulky. Mr. Mime takes neutral damage off Signal Beam because of it being Fairy type, and it also lives a crunch, but then Signal Beam finishes it off. After the battle, Buzz finally evolves into Electabuzz, and obviously because we've got the Electrizer, we can actually get an Electrifier the next time it levels up once it's holding it. We head into the next battle, which is against Gambler Flynn, and he's got a Krabby. Gary, because we're not going to actually use it in the gym because it's 4 times weakness, we can actually push this as close to level 34 as we want. Next up comes Goldeen, and the same again, a couple of bites. He does have one-hit KO moves, which thankfully because of low accuracy don't connect, or I would have been fuming. We get the TM for Reflect, and then we continue through to, I think it's Route 12, and then you touch some of the MPs in here, and they just give you a little bit of filler information. This guy does tell you about why the bridge has collapsed, and it turns out because of Snorlax, which you know if you played the original games. We heal up, and then we can continue on to actual Route 12. So all that's here now is a Fisherman, a Slowpoke, and an item. So we head into the battle. Fisherman Andrew has a Krabby, which again Gyarados can wall quite effectively, but we switch out into Buzz because we want to get it leveled up. A single Thunder Punch KOs Krabby in one hit, and up next comes Gyarados, and 4 times weakness. A single Shockwave just decimates it. Just not enough though to level up. So we encounter the Slowpoke, and obviously it's a new route, so this is going to be our encounter. I could actually get a Slowking rather than a Slowbro, but again this is a Pokemon that probably isn't going to be used. So after one single Signal Beam, we go for a Netball and we catch it. As it's a female, we go and give it the nickname Lola. Again, no idea behind that name. It then drops a Water Gem and some EXP candies medium, which is quite good. We get the TM for Life Dew, and now all that's left to do is just grind up. Thankfully, because of that Slowpoke though, every time we run away from one of them, we're going to get 2 of them EXP candies medium. So using them, we level up Buzz, into Electivire, which is probably our strongest Pokemon right now. We then get everyone up to the level cap and we head on into our battle with Lieutenant Surge. Thankfully, his team's actually not that bad. He leads off with an Electrode which has self-destruct, so this is where Graveler comes in useful. We set up Stealth Rock because he has a Raichu with Focus Sash, and then we just start mudslinging. Charge Beam isn't very effective because of us being rock and electric, and thankfully he's not getting boosts as well. He does though get one after that, and then he decides to go for self-destruct. We take it quite well though and survive on 15 HP. Now I look back, I don't know why I was going for smackdowns and not mudslings. He then sends out his Raichu and its sash is now broken because of the stones. So we can switch out into Jeffrey, and Thunderbolt's not really going to do much damage. He does have Focus Blast as well, but that's also resisted because of the poison typing. We set up the Leech Seeds and then we can start doing some damage. Grass Pledge doesn't do much, but with Leech Seed it takes him down to half. We then go for Petal Dance, but he protects. We take a Focus Blast comfortably, and then a single Petal Dance KOs it. I don't know why I got static here, because Petal Dance is listed as a special attack on Venusaur. But now we're also locked in, and obviously because we can't switch out. Thankfully, Electabuzz doesn't go for Ice Punch, which it actually has. So then we switch into Archie, and with Intimidate reducing its attack, he's not going to do much damage to us. We also equipped it with Cell Battery to boost its attack if he does go for Thunder Punch, and then a couple of Fire Fangs finishes it off. And there you go, we've got our next gym badge quite comfortably, probably the most comfortablest of all of the battles we've done so far. And then we found out that Susan can learn all the different fangs, so Fire Fang, Ice Fang, Thunder Fang. We decide to learn Ice Fang, and then that is now where we are going to end the episode. He tells us that we've got 3 gym leaders left and to head to Celadon City, but we need to go all the way back to Cerulean City and go through Rock Tunnel, I think it is. He gives us TRs for Thunder, which could be better. It's not really a move that I like to use because of the accuracy problems. So yeah, we're going to end the episode there. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next one. Peace out.